Hi everyone, this is Tamu. Welcome to my channel, The Cloud Security Guy, where we talk on a weekly basis about things pertaining to cloud security, artificial intelligence, and general cybersecurity advice. Today I want to talk about a very important topic, which is cloud SSO, single sign-on. Cloud single sign-on. And cloud single sign-on is like one of the most important aspects of any cloud security strategy. I've talked earlier about having a cloud security roadmap and multi-cloud and all of these important things. And really, cloud single sign-on or SSO, it's one of the key items to have on your roadmap. I mean, without single sign-on, believe me, you're going to have a lot of problems in your cloud security roadmap. So I thought it was so important. Better I make a video on it and really focus on it to drive home why you need it and why it's an essential component. Why cloud single sign-on SSO is an essential component of any cloud security roadmap. So before we move ahead, guys, please do like and subscribe to this channel and comment on it, share it as much as possible. This will really help this video reach the maximum amount of people. Thank you. Okay, so what are we talking about this week? So single sign-on, guys. I mean, if you worked in IT, I'm sure you must have heard of the concept of single sign-on. It has been a security best practice like for many years now. Basically you have multiple systems now, right? You have cloud, you have, I don't know, mobile applications, you have APIs, you have your legacy applications, and all of them have separate credentials, right? Separate security policies. It becomes a nightmare to manage. When people are leaving, you have to remove their credentials from God knows how many places, and people are joining. So again, you have to provision their access. So you have things like identity and access management and other stuff. But really, it's like a patched up stuff. It becomes a nightmare to try to like make sense of it all and really centralize policy management. And if somebody leaves, or if God forbid there's like a security incident, then you need to revoke the access very fast. And then if you have like 50 applications which are not talking to each other, you have to go and revoke access one by one, right? In incident response, the time that it takes to quickly respond when an incident happens, that is very important. So that's why you can understand why single sign-on is needed so badly. Okay, and especially, okay, we are talking about like overall environment. Let's talk about the cloud. I've talked before. I've made a video, I believe, on multi-cloud. I'll link it here. We talked about having a multi-cloud environment, right? Most companies are now moving towards that. You have AWS, you have Google, Azure, Oracle, others also, right? And this is so having single sign-on is really needed in the cloud, because the complexity, managing multiple identities in users in the cloud, it's one of the biggest challenges facing cloud security professionals. That's why you need to have a single identity store, one place where everybody authenticates, where you can enforce the policies. And like I said, when you have a multi-cloud environment, you really need to standardize your security policy. Like if you want to enforce MFA, you want to enforce multi-factor authentication on one place, right? Or if you want to restrict access to like a particular country, you don't want to go ahead and do it in every single cloud provider. That's why having single sign-on, it becomes so important, and it becomes more important when you implement other stuff like cloud DLP and other things. So I hope you understand why single sign-on is so important. So when you talk about cloud single sign-on, what are we talking about? So basically, we're talking about a user who has a single credential, right? You're going to have one single credential. Instead of logging into each application separately, you're going to log on to the single sign-on, right? And that will authorize your access to all your applications. So you don't have to sign in multiple times. You can imagine the benefits of this, right? IT people will be so happy. So they don't have to worry about managing access to multiple applications. Password reset, I hate to tell you this, even in 2022, password resets are still happening manually. And this is also really useful if the user has been compromised and you need to quickly revoke their access from over like 50 or 100 applications. Your security posture also improves, right? Because if you have one password for accessing multiple applications, users are motivated to pick strong passwords. And this actually helps to decrease the blast radius of attacks, right? Password-based attacks, because your passwords are quite strong, and it reduces friction when you're accessing different applications, because the user doesn't have to enter the password again and again and again. And also you can standardize or centralize your security policies. You can enforce MFA, context-based controls, like authenticating users based on their location, their time, their risk rating. It becomes very easier in the cloud. And you can centralize all the permissions, right? Because your SSO, your cloud single sign-on identity, it can be mapped to different roles and job titles. So everything becomes much easier. So, but in the interest of fairness, like, are there any disadvantages? What do you think are the disadvantages of cloud single sign-on? One thing which a lot of people like, just to play devil's advocate, I don't want to say that single sign-on is just good and dandy. Some people do make the case that relying on single password, it can increase the exposure of an attack if the password is compromised, right? But you have to understand that users generally reuse the same passwords anyways. It's not like they have different passwords for different applications. But and with SSO, what you can do is, even if that single password is compromised, you can put in things like MFA, you can put in things like machine learning and AI. Usually, cloud single sign-on, they support these sort of things, okay? And intelligent context-based controls based on risk ratings. Where is this guy coming from? Does he usually log in? Where is this country suddenly? Why is he suddenly showing up in a new country? And all these intelligent controls you can actually put in. So I hope you understood now why that, what are the advantages and possible disadvantages of single sign-on. So how does it work? Like when you talk about single sign-on, what are the technicalities behind it? So now I'm not going to dive too deep into it because honestly, you don't really need it. I mean, I've implemented multiple single sign-on solutions in my career. I didn't have to dive too deep in it, but you do need to know the basic concepts, right? So the first thing you need to do is what SAML is, Security Association Markup Language. It's an open standard. Basically, it enables single sign-on, right? So you have things like called the identity provider. What is an identity provider? Okay, simply put, it is the what is going to provide your authentication. This is the identity store where the single sign-on will store all the credentials, and this is the one which is going to authenticate the user and provide the access. And you have something called the service provider, right? The service provider is the application, it's providing the service. So it will trust the IDP. Okay. So when the user tries to access this service, it's going to ask the IDP, is this guy trusted? What it's going to do, it's going to use SAML to send a request and say, this guy is okay, you can trust it, go right ahead. So SAML is what was used to like enable trust in single sign-on. It is the most commonly used standards. There are other new standards like I think OAuth is there. It's a slightly new standard that was co-written by like I think Google and Twitter to enable streamlined internet logins. Okay, it uses a similar methodology to SAML, but honestly, SAML is pretty much the most well-known standard. And it simply think of it as like an XML document. It's being exchanged between these two things, and that is what is enabling the trust. Okay. So there are two ways in which SSO will work. One is IDP initiated, one is service provider initiated. IDP initiated is very simple. Simply put, you log in directly to the single sign-on application. So let's take an example of Azure AD. You want to access like, I don't know, Salesforce. So you're not going to go directly to Salesforce. You're going to go to Azure AD. What is going to happen? You're going to put in your credentials, right? That credentials using like what you call, it's going to authenticate. You can say, okay, this guy is trusted. It's going to send a SAML request to the service provider when you try to access it. So Salesforce is going to get a SAML request and say, yes, this guy is okay, you can get him access. So this is basically an IDP initiated sign-in flow. Okay. So simply put, you're going to the identity provider first and getting access to it. So there are lots of like, what do you call, if you use this like one login or maybe Okta or maybe Azure AD, this is what it will look like. When you log into it, you're going to see all your applications arranged in these nice little slabs. And you don't have to, you want to access Amazon, you want to access Dropbox, you want to access Salesforce. You don't have to do anything. You just have to click on the tab, boom, it'll log you in directly. So that's what the beauty of the single sign-on is. You don't have to, so many applications, cloud-based applications are there. You have a single dashboard, just go ahead, directly log into it. Okay. The other one is service provider initiated. In this way, basically, you try to access the application directly. You are logging to Salesforce. What's going to happen? Salesforce is going to say, hold on, SSO is enabled. I can't just trust this guy. He's going to ask the identity provider. It's going to say, is this guy trusted? Can I trust him? The identity provider is going to look at it. It's going to say, yeah, okay, you can trust this. This is his access token. It's going to send a SAML request back. And based on that, it's going to authenticate it. So that's basically the two difference between the two. It just depends on how the user is accessing the application. Okay. And there are lots and lots of cloud single sign-ons available. You have like Okta. Okta is very popular. You have Ping. You have one login. All of these are commercial single sign-ons available. They're not cheap, as you can imagine. You have something called Azure AD. Microsoft Azure Activities or Active Directory is also there. Which one you go on? I'm not going to say this one is better, that one is better. Honestly speaking, there are multiple factors. It depends on your budget. It depends on the list of features, customizations that you want. Those who want more customizations, usually they lean towards a specialized solution like Okta and Ping. And somebody who wants like a quicker learning curve, they will go with Azure AD, right? You can go to like things like Magic Quadrant from Gartner. and you can look which are the solutions which are the most popular right now, which will give me the most access. But the purpose of this was just to give you an idea of this cloud single sign-on, SSO, how it works, why it's so important in the cloud, and which are the things you can do, and what are the basic concepts around it. So I hope this was useful to you guys. Like I said earlier, please do like and subscribe to this channel. Like I mentioned, cloud environments get very complex very fast. So, and I want to keep on creating this sort of material to help you. And I hope you understood why cloud single sign-on is so important. Cloud identities are the new firewall, and single sign-on really empowers cloud security teams to take security to the next level. So, thank you very much, guys. If you found this useful, please do comment and like and share this video. And I will see you next week in the next video. Thank you.